Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and we are here with my friend Connie. Hi, Connie.
Hi there.
And we're studying the Course in Miracles, the text. We are reading from chapter 15, the Holy Instant, and we are starting with section 4, practicing the Holy Instant. Okay. All right, let me start with paragraph 1 here. Okay. This course is not beyond immediate learning unless you believe that what God wills takes time. And this means only that you would rather delay the recognition that His will is so. The holy instant is this instant and every instant. The one you want it to be, it is. The one you would not have it be is lost to you. You must decide when it is. Delay it not. For beyond the past and future, where you will not find it, it stands in shimmering readiness for your acceptance. Yet you cannot bring it into glad awareness while you do not want it, for it holds the whole release from littleness. Okay. So we were just reviewing the lesson for today, right? It was 105. So this goes right along with that. God's peace and joy are mine. And it says, today we will accept them. Okay. And we will try to understand these gifts increase as we receive them. Okay. They're not like the gifts of the world can give, in which the giver loses as he gives the gift, and the taker is the richer by his loss. Okay. So here, this is also saying that the holy instant here is stands in shimmering readiness for your acceptance. That means for our receiving it. Okay. So if we don't accept something, we don't receive it. Okay. So every moment is here. But if we judge it and we find something wrong with it and we reject it in some way, okay, then we are not accepting it. We're not receiving it. And therefore, we are losing the awareness of holiness that we are, and that is reality now. Okay. Um, and so it says, and this means only that you would rather delay the recognition that His will is so. Okay. So holiness is the will of God because that is how God created us. And the holy instant is the experience of that holiness in the moment that we receive it as the truth. But we can't receive it if we are judging anything wrong in that moment. So it's always about being completely present and accepting everything that is, which means that we have peace, inner peace. And we're in that place of stillness where there's no thinking, no judging, no evaluating, no comparison, none of that. Seeing, none of the seeing with the body's eyes. That is pretty automatic for most of us, that we just do it automatically. Okay, so the holy instant is the Holy Spirit teaching of the truth of what we are. And we can have that experience when we decide. 6, you must decide when it is. So it's a decision. It's not something that happens to us. It's a decision of deciding for forgiveness, for love. Let's see, for yeah, for peace. I'd rather have peace than this. So, and it holds the release from littleness. And that was the previous section. So whenever we follow the ego, then we are in a place of littleness. Okay. All right. Anything, Connie, there?
Nope, that's good
Okay.
so far.
Okay. Paragraph 2.
Your practice must therefore rest upon your willingness to let all littleness go. The instant in which magnitude dawns upon you is but as far away as your desire for it. As long as you desire it not and cherish littleness instead, by so much is it far from you. By so much as you want it, will bring it nearer. Think not that you can find salvation in your own way and have it. Give over every plan you have made for your salvation in exchange for God's. His will content you, and nothing else can bring you peace. For peace is of God, and no one beside him.
Okay, so you remember one of the lessons not too far was only God's plan for salvation will work.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's touching on that right here, right? Line 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I see all the ways in which I make all these little plans to fix something or do something, and it's not working.
Yes. That's
But
what we're,
I think it's really important, though, to really see that and get that.
yes, it is, because that's how we're motivated to not pursue it anymore. Yeah. Um, and I was just going back to the previous section because, it was talking about letting go of all littleness.
Yeah.
Because it was saying, would you be hostage to the ego or host to God?
Mm.
So to try to do anything on our own would be to be hostage to the ego, and it doesn't work. And that's littleness. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, give over every plan you have made for your salvation in exchange for God's. What is that plan, Connie? What's God's plan for salvation? What's our only function?
Forgiveness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coming back to oneness through forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same, fulfilling our function is the same as happiness. All right. That's why 7 says his will content you, and nothing else can bring you peace. For peace is of God, and no one beside him. So we cannot, let's see, we cannot find real peace externally, okay, because that's a perception of separation. So we always have to go back internally to experience the holy instant of oneness, of Holy Spirit vision of innocence, holiness, um, to the to open to receive the peace of God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Be humble before him, and yet great in him. And value no plan of the ego before the plan of God. For you leave empty your place in his plan, which you must fill if you would join with me. By your decision to join in any plan but his. So let's see, I call you to fulfill your holy part in the plan that he has given to the world for its release from littleness. God would have his host abide in perfect freedom. Every allegiance to a plan of salvation apart from him diminishes the value of his will for you in your own mind. And yet it is your mind that is the host to him. So let's see, every allegiance to a plan of salvation apart from him. Yes, so we can't have a split allegiance. What, Connie?
Oh, I have a question, but go ahead. We can, yeah.
Yes, so what this is saying is that allegiance has to be complete here. Otherwise, there's a diminishment. If we're trying to have an allegiance to both God and the ego, then we are devaluing the will for God, and we're actually devaluating ourself because his will is in our mind. So we're devaluating our mind, the power of our mind.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So what was the question?
Oh, well, I was just reflecting back on the question you asked me. Okay, what is our function?
Mhm.
Okay, so I say, okay, forgiveness. But then if to put it in a practical way, how to use this with planning, I could say, okay, I need to pay my taxes need to be paid today. So if my purpose is forgiveness, where does that come in to just simple day-to-day planning and things to get done and stuff like that? You see what I'm asking?
Yes, but as long as you're not making that your salvation. Okay.
Okay.
So this is talking about plans that we make for salvation. So in other words, okay, if you are paying your taxes today a matter of life or death, oh my God,
Mhm.
then we are forgetting. That's not the truth, okay? It's not going to kill you.
Well, death and taxes, what do they say? Anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that the world looks at salvation as an opposite
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
damnation, okay? And and to God there is no opposite to salvation. Okay. So it's an error to try to um, accept what we have taught ourselves in the world. Okay. That it's a matter of life or death. I got to pay my taxes today. Okay. Well, it's not true. Okay. Yeah, it could save you a penalty. Okay. But the penalty itself is, don't make that into damnation. Don't turn it into a sin that condemns you, and then you're going to feel guilty. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because that makes the separation real. Okay. Okay, so I wake up and I forget that, oh, today's the last day to pay my taxes, and I just forgot it was the last day. Okay, and then tomorrow I remember. Okay, well, now I have to pay a penalty. Okay, so what? It's an error. So I forgive myself because, okay, I forgot and now I have to pay a penalty. So this is the opportunity for forgiveness,
Mm,
which is God's plan for salvation, which says really the errors that you seem to experience in the world cannot change how God created you, cannot make you unholy, cannot make you guilty. Do you see
mhm,
what I'm saying?
mhm.
Yeah, because there is no damnation. So that's what we're undoing is we're doing all of the past learning that says that, yeah, we're going to be punished if we don't follow all these things and deadlines and all of that because we have it associated with a God that is not just loving, but condemning. Okay.
Yeah,
And that's
punish.
not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So that's all. That's all we're learning. We're learning to remember that we are as God created us and that nothing that happens in the world can change that. Okay. Not if you forget to pay your taxes. So, yeah.
So, but going into any kind of plan, then to always make sure that I'm connected to spirit before.
Well, you want to just give it to Spirit. You want to say, Holy Spirit, decide for me for God, because I do not know what anything is for, including paying my taxes. We think we know what it's for, but we don't.
Well, and that's when some people decide, I'm not going to even pay them. And then, ooh,
Well,
but
that's fine. That's fine.
anyway,
They can decide whatever they want. Okay. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to practice forgiveness. So every single thing, whether we pay them or not,
right,
can be used by the Holy Spirit for our purpose, our function, which is to practice forgiveness, which is a decision for love, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um,
Mm.
so let's see. It says, in your practice, try to give over every plan you have accepted for finding magnitude in littleness. It is not there.
Mm.
Yeah. So use the holy instant only to recognize that you alone cannot know where it is. Wait, did we read this one already, Connie? Or did
Paragraph
I?
3?
Yeah, no, 4.
No, we haven't read that yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're moving on to 4. Okay,
Uh,
I'll go ahead and read.
okay.
Would you learn how perfect and immaculate is the holy altar on which your Father has placed himself? This you will recognize in the holy instant in which you willingly and gladly give every other plan but his. For there lies peace, perfectly clear, because you have been willing to meet its conditions. You can claim the holy instant anytime and anywhere you want it. In your practice, try to give over every plan you have accepted for finding magnitude in littleness. It is not there. Use the holy instant only to recognize that you alone cannot know where it is and can only deceive yourself.
So this has a it's bringing up the idea of seeking and not finding. That line 5, right? Give over every plan you have accepted for finding magnitude in littleness, because we try to find what we think we're missing in the world, right? Yeah. And so we're not going to find it there because it's not there. The world doesn't have it to give to us because it's a projection of separation by the ego. And the ego is littleness because it is the belief that we have separated ourselves from everything, which is wholeness, which is God. So we're not going to find it in the reflection of scarcity and lack, which is the ego. And that's the projected world. Um, so we want to use the holy instant to recognize that you alone, you see, without guidance from the Holy Spirit, without recognizing that we are all one creation, one with my brothers, um, without that recognition, I cannot know where uh, magnitude or wholeness or the infinite value of what I am is, and will only deceive myself by thinking, oh, if I can only just maybe get a better job and with a higher salary, then I'll be happy, or if only I can maybe lose 20 pounds and then I'll look better and I'll feel better about myself and I'll be healthier and all of that. So we're always looking for some sort of salvation to our misery, to our lack, um, in things that we can do in the world for ourselves because it implies that we are alone, having to do it on our own. Yeah. And by doing that, we are not able to then recognize that within us is that knowing of the holiness and oneness and everything that we share with um, with God, with everyone, with all of creation. So it's a distraction from that, from looking at the inner inner truth. Okay, number 5. I stand within the holy instant as clear as you would have me. And the extent to which you learn to accept me is the measure of the time in which the holy instant will be yours. I call to you to make the holy instant yours at once, for the release from littleness in the mind of the host of God depends on willingness and not on time. Okay. Yeah, so the willingness, and it's very interesting. That's what I found when I started really looking at A Course in Miracles. I found it so interesting that we have such a hard time believing the truth. At least I did. There was times when I would get insights into this magnitude, this holiness, and it was like, yeah, why is there so much resistance to accepting that? You know, it's because we are so stuck with our own ideas of littleness that we've made, that we have all this loyalty to these beliefs, that I thought, yeah, I mean, it's like we want to believe what is not in our best interest, and then we want to resist the truth that is completely in our highest good, um, which of course doesn't make any sense, but that's the upside down perception of the ego. So, yeah. Mm. Okay, number 6.
That is the big problem. So, yeah, loyalty. Is it loyalty? What the heck?
Well, we've really done a good job in the sense of accepting and teaching ourselves. Um, you can call it inheritance of the world or legacy or whatever. And there's a very strong, like cultural or religious or even, ethnic or gender, all these identities that we've made
Mm,
that we are definitely, we're so sure that's what we are. It's like that's all just littleness because it's all incomplete. They're roles that we play or they're conditioned um, reactions. They're just, they're not wholeness. So,
no, of course not. But all that has such a strong pull.
yes.
It really is like mind-boggling how we can be so pulled to believe that stuff rather than the truth.
Yes, I found that to be, yeah, yeah. Um, there's a section here that says the unbelievable belief, you know.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, when
Well,
you really, it starts becoming really unbelievable to the point where you say, okay, well, it's just why no way I'm going to take it seriously because when you really start looking at the error, the magnitude of the error that we have made in terms of littleness, accepting littleness, then it starts becoming too fantastical. It's like a movie that you watch that is fantasy, obviously, but it just becomes way too like absurd. You just can't buy into it. You know what I'm saying? So even
yeah.
fantasy, like in movies or something, has to stay within a realm of believability for us. Because once it gets like, oh no, 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 that's no way. There's a, it's almost like there's also a degree of acceptability to what we're willing to believe. And then that's why, the ego thought system has to play this little balancing act because if it gets too scary, we're like, oh no, I don't want to go there. So the ego, has to really try to do this kind of lukewarm kind of thing with beliefs um, to keep us loyal to them. Yeah.
It seems like it's that fundamental core belief that I am a piece of shit, or yeah, that seems to be the belief that makes it all a mess. I'm messed up, I screwed up, piece of shit, and
Yes, but that's a judgment.
I'll say it's not nice. No, but it
O-
seems like that
Okay.
is where everybody kind of is, and they try to cover that up with all this other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you got to back it up though, because what are we protecting by believing that about ourselves?
What are we protecting? Separation.
Yeah, and we're protecting the judge who we think is in a position now greater than God to
Uh-huh.
decide what we are,
Hmm.
right?
Boy.
Because I want to be right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, I am a piece of shit. And I want to be right.
Protecting the wrong judge. That's
Okay.
it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to be right. There's pride, there's arrogance, there's the capriciousness of the ego. It's all wrapped in there. So the more we want to be right, the more we're going to be loyal to error.
Yeah.
And you know, the course says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
right. And so that's why the forgiveness piece is saying,
Yeah.
yes, I am willing to be wrong. I am willing to see and accept that this is an error in perception and forgive it. Instead of
Mhm.
holding on to my judgment that no, I I am right and you are what I say you are, and therefore I have to also be what I say I am. And if I say I'm a piece of shit, well, doggone it, I'm stuck with that. Because I have to protect the judgment. Because if I'm going to want to call you a piece of shit and believe it, I'm going to be stuck with whatever I call myself too.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We have a friend who just has had a couple of grandbabies, and to see them just from the get-go, how they're just being bombarded with do this, don't do this. I mean, it's like you don't have a chance. You're just bombarded with how to supposedly be. And my goodness, it's interesting to watch it play out in families from that early point.
Well, yeah, everyone has their opinion, right? On what is right and what is wrong. That's the main problem with right and wrong. It's not based on truth.
Yeah.
It's based on past learning and past conditioning. And it demands judgment. And if we want to hold on to that, then we have to then make God into the image of a judge. That's dualistic.
Right.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
6.
6. Yeah.
The reason this course is simple is that truth is simple. Oh, the great line. Complexity is of the ego and is nothing more than the ego's attempt to obscure the obvious. You could live forever in the holy instant, beginning now and reaching to eternity, but for a very simple reason. Do not obscure the simplicity of this reason, for if you do, it will be only because you prefer not to recognize it and not to let it go. The simple reason, simply stated, is this: the holy instant is a time in which you receive and give perfect communication. This means, however, that it is a time in which your mind is open both to receive and give. It is the recognition that all minds are in communication. It therefore seeks to change nothing, but merely to accept everything.
Yeah, and I mean the last line right there. Okay, it therefore seeks to change nothing but merely accepts everything. Well, you, you know what the world would say about that, right? You're so passively weak. That's pathetic. Oh, oh my gosh. That's a judgment. Yeah. A few judgments in there. So, yeah, because in order to decide that we need to change something, we have to judge it in some way deficient or lacking or wrong or bad, right? Um, and so it means that we suspend judgment. And that's how we open the mind to receive the truth, the holy instant. Um, Yeah. So we could live forever in the holy instant. Okay. Uh, but for a simple reason. Uh, and that is that we don't want to. We don't want to have our mind open to receive and to give. We want to judge, and that blocks communication. That blocks creation. So it means that we are choosing to miscreate with our mind rather than to co-create with the will of God. Yeah. And that protects the belief that we are an ego separate from God. So, okay, number 7. How can you do this when you would prefer to have private thoughts and keep them? Yeah. So, so in order to be in a place where we don't want to change anything, I mean, just accept everything, um, we would have to let go of private thoughts. Okay, so how can you do this? Right, what it says above, when you prefer to have private thoughts and keep them. The only way you could do that would be to deny the perfect communication that makes the holy instant what it is. You believe you can harbor thoughts you would not share, and that salvation lies in keeping thoughts to yourself alone. For in private thoughts, known only to yourself, you think you find a way to keep what you would have alone and share what you would share. And then you wonder why it is that you are not in full communication with those around you and with God who surrounds all of you together. Okay. Okay, so to believe in private thoughts means that we split ourselves, we split the mind. There's a private and then there's a public. So we share some thoughts and then we hold other thoughts that we think are that we've labeled, we've had to judge them, right, in some way to say, okay, well, no, I can't really, say this because it's not nice. People aren't going to like me. They're attack thoughts. Okay. So we're protecting our private thoughts because they're attack thoughts. And by protecting them, we hold on to guilt. Um, and we split the mind. We split the conscious, unconscious, public, private, external, internal image, self. So, and of course, that's going to interrupt communication, because we're trying to operate dishonestly, incongruently. Um, let's see. We're trying to have a persona or an image and then hide the self that is critical and judging and, that we think is going to be judged, unlikable, mean, or whatever. Yeah. Um, yeah, and so we can't be in full communication with those around you because we're not being honest with ourselves. We hide stuff from ourselves too. You see what I'm saying? So we lie to ourselves, we deceive ourselves, and because we do it with others. Because we go back to what you were saying, Connie. I think I'm worthless. And so I have to try to hide that because that's how I have judged others and myself. And it's not it's not the truth. But because I hide it, I am protecting and giving it reality as if it was the truth because I'm afraid of expressing it and getting in trouble for it. Um, so, yeah. So I make up fear that way. Okay, number 8.
Every thought you would keep hidden shuts communication off because you would have it so. It is impossible to recognize perfect communication while breaking communication holds value to you. Ask yourself honestly, would I want to have perfect communication? And am I wholly willing to let everything that interferes with it go forever? If the answer is no, then the Holy Spirit's readiness to give it to you is not enough to make it yours, for you are not ready to share it with Him, and it cannot come into a mind that has decided to oppose it. For the holy instant is given and received with equal willingness, being the acceptance of the single will that governs all thought.
Yeah, so what we do is we try to filter. The ego thought system is really a filter of communication because, we project what we want to see in the world. Okay, so as long as I want to hold on to my judgments, I'm going to want that filter because I want the experiences that I have in the world to show me that I'm right and that I can hold on to those beliefs because it becomes a reinforcing loop. Yeah, the projection does. Okay. Um, so, and so that means that I have to be willing to not protect, my judgments and to be willing to see that they're a misperception, that I'm wrong, that, yeah, because I really can't truly forgive without recognizing that I have been misperceiving. Um, I forgive my brother for what he did not do, okay? Because it was my misperception. So, uh, and so if we're not ready to really look at the error in our mind, then the Holy Spirit cannot um, bring us the knowledge, the link, it's our link to truth. So the truth, we oppose it, we close it, we block it to that perfect communication. Okay, 9. The necessary condition for the holy instant does not require that you have no thoughts that are not pure, but it does require that you have none that you would keep. So innocence is not of your making. It is given you the instant you would have it. Atonement would not be if there were no need for it. You will not be able to accept perfect communication as long as you would hide it from yourself. For what you would hide is hidden from you. In your practice, then, try only to be vigilant against deception and seek not to protect the thoughts you would keep to yourself. Let the Holy Spirit's purity shine them away and bring all your awareness to the readiness for purity He offers you. Thus will He make you ready to acknowledge that you are host to God and hostage to no one and to nothing. Okay, so this is about freedom, right? Because, hostage is to not be free. So love is perfect freedom. So, um, and it's saying, look, you don't have to be without any impure thought. Okay. It's, that's not the necessary condition. The necessary condition is that you would not protect them, that you would not be invested and value them, so that Holy Spirit would then, the error would then be protected. and the truth would be blocked. Um, so it's releasing the desire uh, to want to believe. It's okay to believe them, but there's a layer, that protects it. That is the desire um, to want them to be true, to give them value, to invest in them. Um, and that's what we were talking about is I want to be right. I want to, that means I'm invested, I'm putting faith into beliefs that are not true, because then it's a little bit like a tug of war. I want God to be wrong because now I'm in opposition. So this is what it's saying. Innocence is not of your making. Okay. So, so, um, so impurity is also not something that we can. So because innocence is not of our making, our impure thoughts cannot change it. Okay. And so to want to believe that our impure thoughts can change our innocence would be that investment that would protect them from the Holy Spirit atonement. So atonement would not be there if there was no need for it. So the atonement plan for salvation was given to us as the Holy Spirit to remind us of the truth. It's our link to the truth, to knowledge. But if we block it, um, then it means that we don't want it. You will not be able to accept perfect communication as long as you would hide it from yourself. So we hide the Holy Spirit voice. It's there. Um, and so it is hidden from us, but it's not that it's not there. It's still there. Um, so the practice is to be vigilant against deception. Yeah, because we have learned to um, what's the word? Dissociate, to what's the word? Um, unconsciously forget, consciously forget, um, to hide things. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. So that's practicing the Holy Spirit. And yeah, the next one is the holy, instant, and special relationships. So that'll be really, really good. Okay, so any questions here, Connie, before we stop? Anything before we end today? Oh, you have your mic off. Can't hear you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, just once you turn the microphone off.
Oh, you have something. Okay. All right. Let me just say until next time then. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank